everybody, how's it going today? Thanks for watching another video. My name's Piet. I'm a dairy farmer from North Dakota. Typically post a video every Wednesday, and sometimes post a video on Sundays, Q&A video if there's a lot of questions that I think are worth making a video about or explaining. It's snowing today. It started snowing early this morning. Hasn't snowed a whole lot yet, but it's pretty windy. We're getting some drifts in some spots. It's supposed to snow all afternoon, I think, and into tonight. It's supposed to clear up by tomorrow morning. If I remember right, I haven't looked at the forecast here lately, but it's snowing a little bit more heavily south of us. It looks like windshield's a little dirty. The milk trucks got out of here pretty early this morning. I think they were both out of here by 5:30, 6 o'clock. Looks like the roads are still open, but there's scattered drifts and ice. You guys always ask a lot of questions on the videos, and I like questions. I like answering your guys' questions, but I haven't noticed it in the last few videos, but sometimes I don't get notifications on comments, and I try to answer all the comments if I can, or at least try to like them or respond to them if I think I need to respond to them. But if I miss your question, it's not on purpose. I try to answer all of them if I can, and the app I use for YouTube, the comments will pop up on there, but I noticed a few videos ago not all the comments were popping up on my notification list for some reason. And I haven't noticed it since, but I'm not checking it all the time either. So if I don't answer your questions, I apologize. I'm definitely not on purpose. And if I respond to your comment and you comment on that again, I don't get notifications on that either, or not all the time, it seems like. So if I respond to you and you respond back and I don't respond, I apologize. Not on purpose. Like I said, I try to answer all your questions as best as I can, or if I think I can. And definitely appreciate all the questions, and I love answering them, and I want to keep doing that in the future. In the telehandler here, I'm gonna bring a few buckets of sand to our heifer barn, and our far off dry cow pen over there is bedded with sand. If you guys remember, we swapped that pen out from manure solids to sand bedding here in the summer. We'll bring a few buckets over there, and then I'll show you guys the pens, because we put rubber mats underneath the sand in one section. And I've had a few questions in the last several videos, or in the last couple weeks, I guess, about if we saw a difference, if we liked it, or what I thought about it. So I thought I could show you guys that here today. If you guys have been following along for a while, you know that we bed with sand in our milking freestall barns. We bed with manure solids in our heifer barn, and our heifers that are on freestalls. And we were bedding our far off dry cow pen, which is in the heifer barn, with manure solids also. We weren't really happy with it, specifically in the far off dry cow pen. Beds were really not as comfortable as we thought they should be. And it was giving issues to the cows, especially in the winter time. For sorting out cows, it can get quite slippery. That barn is it's not insulated, so it does get pretty cold in that barn. And we're sorting out cows in that barn once a week, every week. And especially with cows, you want to make sure that they have good traction, that they're not scared to walk around on the concrete, or especially if you are sorting them out. And we've noticed a little bit of a spike in somatic cell count in our cows since we moved our dry cows into that barn that used to be in our milking barns, and we felt like we had more mastitis cases after doing that. So since we've made the change, our somatic cell count has come down quite a bit. We were always around 100,000 or below 100,000, and was at a point here last year we were at around 130 and 140, and that's still really good, not bad, but we like to have it lower, and we've always had it lower. So then of course we started looking at things we we did or what happened, and the only thing that really changed was those far off dry cows on manure solids instead of sand bedding. And since we made that change here, we're back. The last couple of weeks, our somatics, or last month, our somatic cell count's been around 90,000, which is that's good. That's where we want to be. Our goal is to be at 100 or below 100, and we like to be there year round. If you're watching and you're not sure what somatic cell count is, it's maybe a little bit hard to explain for somebody that's not familiar with it, but essentially it's part of the measurement that we have for our quality of our milk, somatic cell count and bacteria count. So there's always going to be a certain level of bacteria in milk, even the freshest, cleanest milk from the best cows is still going to have bacteria in it. But you want it to be, you know, below a certain point. Obviously lower is better to a certain degree. If there is some studies or some people that say if your somatic cell count is too low, that can also be negative or bad for cows. No, I lost track of what I was saying. My dad just called me. I think I was talking about somatic cell count. Essentially, if a cow's somatic cell count is really high, that would indicate that they could be fighting off an infection. And when I say really high, I'm talking about 400,000, 500,000 plus, and that doesn't really mean anything to anybody that doesn't know what somatic cell count is. But there's a limit to what our average for our herd can be for saleable milk. And typically, what's the standard for high quality milk is below 200,000, and we like to be around 100,000, below 100,000. There's some studies to suggest if it's below 50,000, which in theory you would think the lower the better, but there's some studies to suggest that if a somatic cell count of a herd is too low, that those cows could potentially have a weakened immune system and not have a good ability to fight off infections if they do get an infection. So there's kind of a balance there, I guess. I'm not going to personally say that there's a certain number that's too low. I always like that number to be the lower the better, because you also get paid a little bit of a premium for if it's lower. It's yeah, a little bit complicated, I guess, if you're not familiar with it, but that's about as simplified as I think I can make it. Just gonna bring probably 5-6 buckets over here. Going to bring some new sand in this barn here for bedding, probably the last time before that sand pile freezes up. So we recycle the sand in our milking barns. We separate the sand from the manure and then reuse that sand as bedding. But we'll occasionally bring in new sand, because we're doing a pretty good job separating the sand. Around 99% or so we're recapturing, but we are losing some all the time, and that needs to be replaced with new sand. And it's easy for us to put new sand in our far off dry cow barn. So the last few times we've used recycled sand over there, we'll bring some new sand back into the system one more time before winter really sets in here. Because that sand pile out there will freeze up like a brick, because there is a little bit of moisture on that new sand. I don't think you guys will really be able to tell on the camera, but it's pretty windy out there. There's around the farm here we're protected pretty good by trees, but if I look out to the east, there's no trees, and there's a house about a mile east of us, and I can't see that house at all. I can hardly even see the tree belt that's north of the farm here. So it's blowing pretty good. Wind's coming from the north, pretty strong wind. But yeah, I don't think you guys, especially with my windshield being dirty, if I open the window here. Yeah, you can't tell on the camera really. I'm in our heifer barn here now. I guess Jan just finished cleaning in the pens in here. So this is our far off dry cow pen. So we cleaned the manure alleys in this barn twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. the manure from the far off dry cow pen here. We haul that to our milking barns because we run that through the sand separation system over there. So these are the sand bedded stalls that used to be in manure solids. So on this side here, it doesn't have the rubber mats underneath it, and where the cows are laying, it does. See if you can find it right here. So there's, kind of hard to see. The rubber mats are probably an inch or two underneath the sand here now, so the beds are pretty low. They're definitely time to put bedding in here. So where these cows and heifers are laying now, there's mats underneath, and on this side there's no mats. And I mean, there's an equal amount of sand on either side, but where the mats are, they're a little fuller just because the mats are underneath it. But it definitely seems like the cows kick out less sand where the mats are. They're not able to dig as deep, and they're not able to dig as easily with the mats there. The idea was that we wouldn't have to bed as much in this barn with sand, because I don't want to be hauling sand in here all the time. And it definitely seems like if we would put mats in all of these, if we would put mats in all these stalls, that we would have to bed less. And we could keep the beds a little bit more comfortable for these cows. I'm not really a big fan of these free stalls either. They're a little bit different than the ones in our milking barns. We had a lot of issues when we had manure solids in here. The beds with the manure solids, particularly with the cows, I don't know if it has to do with them being heavier, but they got really compacted and really uneven. We'd have to rake all the time just to keep these beds comfortable, and still they wouldn't be as comfortable for the cows. We'd have issues with cows laying too far forward in the stalls, or too far back, or sideways. And since going to sand, they're definitely a lot more comfortable. We'd have it on occasion where cows would try to get up and they'd be too far forward and they'd struggle to get up, and that's definitely far from ideal. We want the cows to be comfortable, and we want them to be confident that they can lay down and get up easily. Because if they're not comfortable, and if they don't think they can lay down easily, they're not going to want to lay down as much, and that's going to have issues with or cause issues with their hooves. They're going to be more stressed. They're more likely to stand longer, maybe go to the feed bunk less. It'd just be not good for them overall. So we really, from a cow comfort standpoint, happy since changing these pens over to sand. And the weird thing is, we don't really see that in the heifers. You can see the heifers here on the other side. They're on manure solids, and those beds, they seem to stay drier than the manure solids and the cows did, and they seem to stay a little bit more even. And I wonder if it doesn't have to do with the cows being heavier and compacting that the manure solids more. I don't know. But they're, as you can see, just about all the beds and the head-to-heads there are filled. And they were just cleaned here, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. So that tells me that they are comfortable. They want to lay down right away. But definitely didn't seem to be the case in the cows. Since making the change, I mean, the cows look like they're a lot more comfortable. We haven't had issues with them not being able to get up and lay down, or being too far forward. You guys see I'm just opening the gates there. When we clean all these pens, because these cows and heifers don't go to the parlor, or they're not going somewhere, we move them to one side, clean one alley, then move them to the other side and clean the other alley. So it is a little bit time consuming, but alleys need to be cleaned. It's after lunch here now. The snow's picked up quite a bit over lunchtime. It's about a foot of snow out here out the front of the farm already. Luckily the cows are not bothered. They're in the parlor getting milked. I don't think they know that the weather's bad outside. It's afternoon here now. I don't know how good you guys are going to be able to see out the window. It's kind of frosted over a little bit. My mom just called my dad here 10 minutes ago and said she was stuck on the side of the driveway, so we're gonna go see if we can get her pulled out. There's quite a bit of snow out here already. It's kind of in between two tree belts here, and snow always tends to settle here, and there's probably a good, maybe not quite a foot yet, but a good 8-10 inches of snow here for sure. It's supposed to keep snowing until about 1 or 2 a.m. by the looks of the forecast. Hopefully it eases up before then, because we've moved quite a bit of snow already. It's been 6 months since we had a bunch of snow, so you almost forget a little bit what it's like to get a good snowstorm. The visibility is pretty bad out here. It's hard to tell if the road is completely white from snow. It's hard to tell where the road is. But now we just turned off here heading west to my mom and dad's, and now we can see the road again. You guys are going to be disappointed, but my mom was able to get out on her own. I don't think she wanted to be on YouTube. She lost visibility. There was zero visibility for her for a little bit, and she went too far off the edge of the road. But once visibility came back a little bit, she was able to get back up on the road. It is pretty difficult to see out here when the wind really is blowing the snow across. Every now and then you get a little break, and then it gets really bad again. It's the next day here. Been moving snow for a few hours already. There's quite a bit of snow out here. We're in between the heifer barn and that's the heifer barn over there, and this is our milking barns here. There's probably a good 4 or 5 feet of snow here. I don't know if you guys can really see that very well on the camera. Pretty good size drift here, and some of the snow from the roof slides down and lands here. It's just typically a spot where we have a lot of snow. I thought I'd show you guys this quick. So it's Friday today, so they had to move cows from the milking barns to our far off dry cow pen. And they have to come down this alley here. And I think Eduardo must have taken the skid steer through the barn and made a little alley for the cows here, so they didn't even need the gates today. They just used the snow. The snow right here is probably 4 or 5 feet deep, it looks like, so it probably took them quite a while to get this cleaned out. So it's always hard to tell how much snow we actually got, because a lot of it's just drifted snow. But if I had to guess, from the snow by our house, where we're pretty wind protected, maybe around a foot of snow. Some of the, some spots are bare, but the other spots there's 4 or 5 feet of drift. The snow by the calf hutches isn't bad. I'll head over there and show you guys that. The first milk truck just pulled in. They waited for the sun to come out and give us a chance to clean the driveway off a little bit here. The other milk truck's in Jamestown, about 45 minutes south of us here. One of the drivers lives there. The road was closed from Carrington to Jamestown last night and yesterday afternoon until early this morning. But I just looked, and they've since opened that road, so they must have had it cleared off already. So I'm assuming that truck's going to be on his way also. And the interstate from Jamestown to Fargo is open. so they should be able to get both loads into Fargo today. It'll be a little bit later than normal, but it's better than not being able to get them delivered at all. It's later in the morning now. Just checking the hutches here. Not as much snow by the hutches as I would have expected there to be. Calves have all been fed milk already. Jose Luis is giving water over there. There's quite a big drift on the side of the barn there. I just opened that curtain up. There's a little bit of snow on the inside, but not too bad either. We put bedding in these hutches yesterday, and we'll come by and put bedding in again today, and then probably clean them out in a day or two, get the snow cleaned out of there, out of the front. See how these big hutches are doing. A little bit of snow in there. A lot of snow in the front, but inside it's not too bad. We'll do the same with these, put some straw in these, and then clean them out in a day or two. Calves seem to be doing all right. Typically when we get snow like this, the first priority is to make sure that all of our guys can get to and from the farm safely. The shift changes at 5, so we'll usually start cleaning snow around 4. Depends how bad it was, I guess. I was here last night around midnight. A skid steer was broke, and I could tell then already that there was a lot of snow. I was a little worried I wasn't gonna be able to get here this morning, but ended up being fine. Not fine, but they made it. And then after that, then start cleaning the feed area so that the cows can be fed on time, so that when the feeder gets here, just going through a snowbank there, so when the feeder gets here, he doesn't have to move snow. He can start feeding right away. The cows get fed on time. And then the calf feeders start at 7, so after the feeding area is clean, we'll start cleaning the area around the hutches and the calf barn, and where they have to drive out with the pasteurizer, so that when they get here, they can start their job right away instead of having to move snow. And then once everybody has snow out of their ways to continue their job or to do their job, and we'll start moving snow everywhere, get the whole yard cleaned off. I probably won't do a whole lot more filming. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities to do more filming of snowstorms, because it's only November. I'm sure that won't be the last one for this winter. We've got quite a few snow mountains built already around the farm. There's a few specific places where we always pile snow, in between those two barns over there, here, on the other side of the heifer barn, and then a few spots in the front also. And if we have time throughout winter, we'll move those snow piles and dump them in our water runoff pond, so that there's less snow to melt in and around the barns here. I think I'll probably end this video here. Appreciate you guys watching. Tomorrow is our youngest son Eli's birthday, so if you guys want to wish him a happy birthday, I don't think he'd understand it yet, but he's a pretty happy guy, just starting to walk. He's taking 5-6 steps. I think it won't be long before he starts walking out here. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to post them down below, and we'll see you in the next one.